The horse is not pale. That is a translation, a decision made by men in the 17th century. The Greek says something different. Open any Bible, Revelation 6:8. And I looked, and behold a pale horse. That is what you will read. That is what you were taught. That is what every sermon on the four horsemen assumes. That is what every movie and book and documentary repeats. A pale horse. But in 1526, when William Tyndale produced the first English translation of the New Testament from the original Greek, he wrote something else. And I looked, and behold, a green horse. A green horse. Not pale, not faded, not colorless. Green. Tyndale was not a careless translator. He was a scholar who knew Greek and Hebrew fluently. He was so committed to accuracy that he spent years in exile to complete his work. He was executed for translating the Bible into English, strangled, then burned at the stake. October 6, 1536. His crime was giving common people access to the text in their own language. His translation was the foundation for the King James Bible. Over 80% of the King James New Testament comes directly from Tyndale's work. His phrases shaped the English language for centuries, but on this verse, they changed his word. Tyndale said green, the King James said pale, and for 400 years, almost no one questioned it. The Greek word is chloros, and it does not mean pale. Let me show you where else this word appears. Strong's Concordance, entry 5515, chloros, Mark 6:39. Jesus feeds the 5,000. He commands the crowd to sit down on the grass. The Greek says, chloros grass. Every English Bible translates it as green grass. No debate, no discussion. Green grass. Revelation 8:7. The first trumpet sounds. Fire falls from heaven. The text says, all chloros grass was burned up. Every English Bible translates it as green grass. The same word, the same translation. Green. Revelation 9:4. The locusts are commanded not to hurt the grass or any chloros thing. Every English Bible translates it as green thing. Green vegetation, green plants, green life. The word chloros appears 4 times in the New Testament. 3 times it is translated green. Once, in Revelation 6:8, it is translated pale. Same Greek word, same author, same book. In the case of Revelation, different translation. Why? Why would translators change the meaning for one verse? What made them decide that this instance was different? The standard explanation is context. When chloros describes vegetation, it means green. When chloros describes a horse, it must mean something else. Because horses are not green. This is the logic. Horses cannot be green. Therefore, John must have meant pale. Therefore, translators changed the word. Therefore, you never saw what was actually written. But this assumes John made a mistake. This assumes John did not mean what he wrote. This assumes the translators knew better than the apostle who received the vision. This assumes we should protect readers from disturbing imagery. What if John wrote exactly what he saw? What if the horse was the color of chloros? What if the vision was supposed to be disturbing, unnatural, impossible to encounter in nature? What if the impossibility was the point? The other 3 horses are white, red, and black. Normal colors. Colors that horses actually are. Colors that would not surprise anyone who had seen horses. And then, the 4th horse. The horse ridden by Death himself. The color of something that should not exist on a living animal. The color of decay. The color of rot. The color of flesh that is no longer alive. The color of a corpse that has begun to decompose. The Latin Vulgate translated chloros as pallidus. This is where the English pale comes from. But pallidus in Latin could also mean greenish yellow. The connection to the color of decay was still present. Somewhere along the way, the green disappeared, and we were left with a word that means almost nothing. The Greek word chloros does not simply mean bright green. It covers a range within the yellow-green spectrum. The semantic field includes multiple shades and associations. Liddell and Scott's Greek-English lexicon The standard reference for classical Greek defines chloros as greenish yellow, pale green, the color of young vegetation, but also pale as the color of a person in sickness as contrasted with health. The lexicon notes usage in Homer. The word appears in ancient literature going back nearly 3,000 years. The BDAG lexicon, the gold standard for New Testament Greek scholarship, defines it as pale, greenish-gray. It specifically notes the usage in Revelation 6-8 as describing a horse. Thayer's Greek lexicon defines it as green, yellowish, pale. It notes that when applied to a horse, the word suggests the yellowish-pale color of a corpse. The Exegetical Dictionary of the New Testament adds that ancient Greek medical writers used chloros to describe the pallor of sick or dying patients. Hippocrates used words in this semantic range. The color of someone whose blood has drained from their face. The color of someone experiencing extreme illness. The color of someone who is about to die. So the word does have a medical usage. It can describe the sickly color of a person near death. But notice what the lexicons are describing. Not the absence of color, the presence of a specific color, a yellowish green, a sickly hue, the color of a corpse beginning to decay. This is what the translators did not want you to see. John did not describe a colorless horse. John described a corpse-colored horse. The English word pale suggests absence, drained, faded, without color, washed out, like a piece of cloth that has been bleached. But chloros is not absence. Chloros is presence, the presence of a specific nauseating death-colored green, a color you would recognize if you saw it, a color that would make you recoil. Think about what happens to a body after death. The blood pools and settles. The skin loses its normal tone. Within hours, a greenish discoloration appears, first on the abdomen, then spreading across the body. This is the beginning of decomposition. This is the color of death taking hold. Ancient people knew this color. They prepared bodies for burial. They witnessed death in ways modern people rarely do. When John wrote chloros, his readers knew exactly what he meant. The translators softened it. They made it abstract. They turned a visceral, horrifying image into a vague adjective. Pale horse sounds poetic. Corpse green horse sounds horrifying. John intended the horror. The translators removed it. The word chloros gives us the English word chlorophyll, the green pigment in plants, the molecule that makes leaves green, the substance that allows photosynthesis to occur. This is not a coincidence. The root meaning of chloros is green. The scientific term was derived from the Greek because chloros means green. Scientists in the 19th century needed a name for the green substance in plants. They went to Greek. They found chloros. They created chlorophyll. When those scientists named the green pigment in plants, they did not call it palaphyll. They did not call it phaedophyll. They did not call it colorless fill. They called it chlorophyll, because chloros means green, because there was never any doubt about what the word meant. In 1810, Humphrey Davy named a newly discovered element, a yellow-green gas, poisonous, reactive. He called it chlorine, named for its color, named after chloros. The Greek word was never ambiguous to scientists. The Greek word was never ambiguous to linguists. The Greek word was only ambiguous to Bible translators who could not accept a green horse. So they changed it, and hoped no one would check the Greek. Consider the pattern John establishes. The first horse is white. White is the color of conquest, of purity, of a conqueror entering in triumph. Roman generals entered Rome on white horses after victory. The imagery would have been unmistakable. The second horse is red. Red is the color of blood, of war, of violence. The sword given to this rider confirms the symbolism. Red means bloodshed. The third horse is black. Black is the color of famine, of scarcity, of the absence of provision. The scales in the rider's hand measure out meager rations. Black means emptiness. And the fourth horse is pale, a word that means nothing, a word that has no symbolic weight. A word that breaks the pattern of vivid, meaningful colors? No. The fourth horse is chloros, the color of death itself, the color of a body that has begun to rot, the color of vegetation, but appearing on flesh, the color that should not appear on anything living, the color that announces what this rider brings. Each horse carries symbolic weight through its color: white, red, black, conquest, war, famine, and then the green of decay, the green of death, the green of a world that has begun to decompose. The pattern is perfect. The symbolism is complete, until you translate chloros as pale and destroy it. The Net Bible translates it as pale green. The NLT says pale green. The Holman Christian Standard says pale green. Modern translators have begun to acknowledge what the Greek actually says. They have added the word green back into the translation. They have admitted that pale alone is not accurate, but they still soften it. Pale green sounds like a paint color. Pale green sounds like something you might choose for your living room. Pale green does not communicate what John saw. Tyndale did not write pale green. Tyndale wrote green. Green, the color of the grass, the color of the vegetation, the color that should be associated with life, now riding with death. This is the irony John intended. Chloros is the color of life, the color of spring, the color of growth, and John uses it for the horse of death. The color of life has become the color of decay. What was green with vitality is now green with rot. The symbol is inverted, and the translation hides it. Why does this matter? Why spend time on a single word? Why care about a color? It matters because translation is interpretation. Every choice a translator makes shapes what the reader understands. When they changed green to pale, they removed the visual. They removed the horror. They removed the theological irony that John built into the text. John saw something that disturbed him. A horse the color of death. A horse the color of decay. A horse that looked like it had already begun to rot, even while it was moving. A horse that should not exist. A horse that announced by its very appearance what its rider would bring. And for 400 years, English readers have been told the horse was simply pale, colorless, faded, abstract. A word you could read without feeling anything. A word that does not disturb. A word that does not horrify. The Greek is not abstract. The Greek is concrete. The Greek is visceral. The Greek is a specific color that ancient readers would have immediately associated with corpses and decay. The fourth horseman rides a corpse-colored horse. That is what John wrote. That is what the Greek says. That is what Tyndale translated in 1526 before they burned him alive for giving people the Bible in English. The man who gave his life for accurate translation wrote green. The men who came after him changed it to pale, and we have been reading their decision ever since. We began with a translation decision, a word that was changed, a color that was hidden, a horror that was softened. The Greek says chloros. Tyndale said green. The King James said pale. And for 400 years, the image was sanitized, but the word never changed. The manuscripts still say chloros. The Textus Receptus says chloros. The Byzantine text says chloros. The critical editions say chloros. The lexicons still define it as greenish yellow. The evidence still sits in every Greek dictionary ever published. John described a horse the color of death, not pale in the sense of faded, not pale in the sense of drained, not pale in the sense of colorless, green in the sense of decay, green in the sense of rot, green in the sense of a corpse that has begun to decompose, green in the sense of something that should not be alive, but is moving anyway. The fourth horseman rides through history. His name is Death. Hades follows behind him, and his horse is the color of what he brings. Not an abstract concept, a visible reality, a corpse-colored mount for the rider named Death. The same word that describes living grass describes the horse of death. The same chloros that means spring vegetation means corpse color when applied to the fourth horseman. The irony is intentional. The horror is deliberate. The symbolism is perfect. The translators simply decided you should not see it. Now you have seen it. The horse is not pale. The horse is CHLOROS. The horse is the color of death. If this investigation changed how you read the text, leave the word CHLOROS and tell me. Did you know Tyndale translated it as green in 1526? Did you know the same word describes grass in the same book of Revelation? Did you know the translators changed it because green horses do not exist? Did you know that was exactly John's point? If you haven't subscribed yet, this is a good moment, because the Greek has more to reveal, and there is much more to uncover.